Nia's hand froze on the crystal vase as the penthouse door opened behind her. She wasn't supposed to be here when he was home. The schedule had clearly stated the penthouse would be empty until evening. But someone was walking through the foyer, their footsteps measured and deliberate on the marble floor, and her heart began to hammer against her ribs. She set the vase down carefully and turned. Ryu Takeda stood in the doorway of the living room, perfectly still, watching her with dark eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore a black suit that fit like it had been tailored specifically for his frame, and there was something about the way he held himself that made the massive penthouse feel suddenly smaller. Nia had cleaned this space for 3 months and never met him. She'd preferred it that way. The building staff whispered about him in the break room. Dangerous, they said. Connected. The kind of man you didn't want to notice you. But he was noticing her now. I'm sorry, Mr. Takeda, Nia said quickly, forcing her voice to stay steady. The schedule said you'd be out. I can come back later. The schedule was wrong. His voice was calm, almost soft, but it carried an edge of command that made it clear he was used to being obeyed. He moved into the room, and Nia instinctively stepped back. You're Nia. It wasn't a question. She nodded anyway, her fingers tightening on the cleaning cloth in her hand. He crossed to the bar cart and poured himself water from a crystal decanter, his movements unhurried. Then he turned back to her, and his eyes dropped to her left arm. Nia followed his gaze and realized with cold horror that her sleeve had ridden up, exposing the bruises that mottled her forearm in shades of purple and yellow. How did you get those? He asked. Nia yanked her sleeve down. It's nothing. It's not nothing. His tone hadn't changed, but something in his expression shifted. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, and his eyes went cold in a way that made her stomach twist. Who did that to you? I fell, she lied, the words automatic. She'd said them so many times they almost felt true. You didn't fall. The certainty in his voice rattled her. Nia looked at the floor, at the gleaming marble that she'd scrubbed just last week, and felt the familiar weight of shame settle over her shoulders. Men like Ryu Takeda didn't care about women like her. They didn't notice the bruises or the exhaustion or the fear. They lived in penthouses and wore expensive suits and moved through the world like they owned it. But he was still looking at her, waiting for an answer she couldn't give. It's none of your business, she said finally, forcing herself to meet his eyes. Respectfully, Mr. Takeda. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he nodded slowly, though his expression suggested he didn't agree. Finish your work. I'll be in my office. He left, and Nia released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Her hands were shaking as she picked up the vase again. She needed to finish and get out. Away from those eyes that saw too much. Away from questions she couldn't answer. She worked quickly, efficiently, trying to be invisible the way she'd learned to be. But when she pushed her cleaning cart toward the service elevator 20 minutes later, Ryu was waiting there. I'm having my driver take you home, he said. Nia stopped. That's not necessary. It wasn't a question. Her jaw tightened. This was what men like him did. They gave orders and expected obedience. They saw a problem and decided to fix it without asking if you wanted to be fixed. She'd spent 5 years with Deshawn learning exactly how that ended. I don't need your help, she said, keeping her voice level. I don't need anything from you. I know. He stepped into the elevator with her, and the doors slid closed. The space suddenly felt too small. But you're going to accept it anyway. Why? Because whoever put those marks on your arm might be waiting for you at the bus stop. The words hit her like cold water. Nia stared at him, trying to read his expression, but his face gave nothing away. How did he know? How could he possibly know that Deshawn sometimes followed her, that he waited at her bus stop to harass her for money, that she'd started taking different routes home to avoid him? The elevator descended in tense silence. When they reached the ground floor, a sleek black car was waiting at the service entrance. The driver opened the door without a word. I take the bus, Nia said, but her voice had lost its conviction. Not today. She wanted to argue. Wanted to walk away and prove that she didn't need saving. But she was so tired, and her arm hurt, and the thought of Deshawn waiting at her stop made her want to cry. So she got in the car, hating herself a little for the relief that flooded through her. Ryu didn't follow. He stood at the entrance watching until the car pulled away. Nia looked back once and saw him pull out his phone, his expression grim. She had the terrible feeling that she just started something she didn't know how to finish. The apartment was empty when she arrived home. Lily was at after-school care, which meant Nia had 30 minutes to herself before pickup. She sat at her tiny kitchen table and stared at the pile of bills she'd been avoiding for 3 days. Electricity. Medical bills from when Deshawn had broken her wrist last year. The numbers blurred together, none of them adding up to anything but more debt. Her phone buzzed. A known number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her thumb the screen. Hello. Miss Cole. This is Ryu Takeda. Nia's stomach dropped. How did you get my number? That's not important. I'm calling to invite you and your daughter to dinner. Tomorrow night. 7 o'clock. She blinked. What? Dinner. A thank you for your work. Mr. Takeda, I don't think that's appropriate. Why not? Because you're dangerous, she wanted to say. Because I don't know you. Because men like you don't do things without wanting something in return, and I don't have anything to give. I have a daughter, she said instead. I can't just leave her to have dinner with a stranger. Bring her. There was a pause. I said that in the first place. I'm not asking you on a date, Miss Cole. I'm inviting you both to share a meal. No expectations. No obligations. Just dinner. Nia closed her eyes. Every instinct screamed to say no. But Lily hadn't had a real meal out in months, and there was something in his voice that made her think he understood loneliness. The kind that ate at you from the inside. Where? She heard herself ask. He gave her an address in a part of town she rarely visited. My driver will pick you up at 6:30. We can take the bus. You could. His tone shifted slightly, and she thought she heard the ghost of humor. But you won't. 6:30, Miss Cole. He hung up before she could argue. The next evening, Nia stood in her cramped bedroom trying to decide what to wear. Everything she owned was either work uniforms or old t-shirts. Finally, she settled on a simple black dress she'd bought for her mother's funeral 5 years ago. It still fits, barely. Lily bounced on the bed, her braids tied with colorful beads that clicked when she moved. Where are we going, Mama? To dinner with someone I work for. Is he nice? Nia thought about Ryu's cold eyes and careful questions. About the way he'd looked at her bruises like they personally offended him. I don't know yet, baby. But we'll find out together. The car arrived exactly at 6:30. The driver opened the door for them without speaking, and Lily's eyes went wide at the leather seats and tinted windows. Nia held her daughter's hand as they drove through the city, watching familiar streets give way to upscale neighborhoods she'd only ever cleaned. The restaurant was small and tucked away on a quiet street. No sign outside, just a simple door with a brass handle. The hostess greeted them like she'd been expecting them and led them to a private room in the back. Ryu stood when they entered. He'd changed out of his suit into dark slacks and a simple button-down shirt. He looked almost normal except for his eyes. Those were still sharp and assessing, cataloging everything about them. Thank you for coming, he said. His gaze moved to Lily, and something in his expression softened. You must be Lily. Lily nodded, suddenly shy, pressing against Nia's side. I'm Ryu. Your mother works very hard to take care of you. I thought she deserved a nice dinner. She does work hard, Lily said seriously, some of her confidence returning. She works all the time. Something flickered across Ryu's face. Pay maybe. Or recognition. Then we should make sure she eats well tonight. The meal that followed was unlike anything Nia had experienced. Dish after dish arrived, each one more beautiful than the last. Ryu explained each one patiently, his voice losing some of its edge as he talked. He taught Lily how to use chopsticks, his large hands gentle as he adjusted her grip. He told stories about his grandmother in Busan who tried to teach him to cook and failed spectacularly. She finally banned me from the kitchen, he said, and Lily giggled. Said I was a danger to myself and the rice. Mama's a good cook, Lily offered. She makes the best jollof rice. Ryu looked at Nia. Jollof rice? It's a West African dish, Nia said, relaxing slightly despite herself. My mother was from Ghana. She taught me to make it before she passed. I'd like to try it someday. The words hung between them, implying a future neither of them had agreed to. Nia looked down at her plate, unsure how to respond. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Lily asked questions about Japan and Korea, about growing up between two cultures, about whether Ryu knew any magic. He answered each question seriously, like she was an adult worth listening to. Nia watched him and felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't the dangerous man from the whispers. This was someone lonely, someone trying to remember how to be human. When Lily excused herself to wash her hands, Ryu set down his chopsticks and looked at Nia. Why are you really doing this? She asked before he could speak. I haven't had a real conversation with anyone in 3 years, he said quietly. Everyone who talks to me wants something. Power, protection, money. You don't want anything from me. And your daughter looks at me like I'm just a person. He paused. It's been a long time since anyone looked at me like that. What do you do? Nia asked. For work, I mean. Really? Things I'm trying to stop doing. His eyes met hers and she saw the truth there. Violence. All the things the whispers suggested and worse. Things that made me into someone I don't recognize anymore. Then why do them? Because I didn't know how to stop. Until recently. Lily came back before Nia could ask what had changed. The rest of the dinner passed in lighter conversation. By the time they left, Lily was holding Ryu's hand like they were old friends, chattering about her favorite books. In the car, Lily fell asleep against Nia's shoulder. Ryu sat across from them, watching the city lights slide past. Thank you, Nia said softly. She needed this. So did you. Maybe. She adjusted Lily's head carefully. But we can't do this again. Why not? Because I know what you are. She met his eyes. And I can't have that in my daughter's life. I'm sorry. Ryu nodded slowly. I understand. But his jaw tightened, and she could see he didn't agree. When they reached her apartment building, he walked them to the door. He waited while Nia unlocked it, and then he did something that surprised her. He bowed slightly, formal and respectful. Thank you for trusting me with your evening, he said. Then he left, and Nia stood in the doorway wondering why she felt like she just said goodbye to something important. For 6 days, she didn't see him. Her shifts at the penthouse were uneventful. The space was empty every time, and she told herself she was relieved. This was better. Safer. Then Deshawn showed up at her work. She was restocking her cleaning cart in the service area when he cornered her. He moved fast, blocking her exit before she could react. He smelled like alcohol and rage, and Nia's heart kicked into overdrive. You've been avoiding my calls, he said. Because I don't want to talk to you. She's my daughter too. His voice was rough, aggressive. You can't keep her from me. I'm not keeping her from you. You're keeping yourself from her by being drunk and violent. His hand shot out and grabbed her jaw, fingers digging into her skin. You think you're better than me now? Cleaning rich people's toilets. Let go of me. Nia's voice stayed level even as fear flooded her system. Make me. I suggest you do what she says. The voice cut through the tension like a blade. Ryu stood at the entrance to the service area, perfectly still. He wasn't shouting or threatening, but something in his stillness made the temperature in the room drop 10 degrees. His eyes were flat and cold, and Nia recognized the dangerous man from the whispers. Deshawn's hand dropped immediately. Who the hell are you? Deshawn demanded, but there was fear in his voice now. Someone who's trying very hard to be civilized. Ryu's voice was perfectly calm. But if you touch her again, I'm going to stop trying. Do you understand me? Deshawn looked between them, and Nia saw the calculation in his eyes. Saw him trying to figure out who Ryu was, what he meant to her. This isn't over, Deshawn said to Nia, trying to save face. Then he left, but the threat hung in the air behind him. Nia's knees went weak. She grabbed the cart to steady herself, and suddenly Ryu was there, his hand under her elbow, supporting her weight. Are you hurt? He asked, and his voice had lost its dangerous edge. Now he just sounded worried. No. I'm fine. You're shaking. I said I'm fine. She pulled away from him, trying to gather herself back together. Her jaw throbbed where Deshawn had grabbed her. You didn't need to do that. He was hurting you. And I was handling it. By letting him assault you? Ryu's calm cracked slightly. That's not handling it, Nia. That's enduring it. There's a difference. Nia turned on him, all her fear transmuting into anger. And what would you have done? Beat him up? Killed him? Made everything worse? I have to live with the consequences of whatever happens here. You get to walk away. I don't want to walk away. The words stopped her cold. She looked at him, really looked, and saw something raw and unguarded in his expression. What do you want? She asked. I want you to be safe. He said it simply, like it was the most obvious thing in the world. I want your daughter to be safe. I want to help. I can't owe you anything. You won't owe me anything. That's not how this works. Then how does it work, Ryu? Because I don't understand. Men like you don't help women like me without expecting something in return. I'm not expecting anything. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration finally showing. I don't know how to explain this. I've never done this before. Done what? Cared about someone. The honesty of it pierced straight through her defenses. Nia wanted to stay angry, stay afraid, stay safe behind her walls. But she was so tired of being alone. So tired of being scared. I don't need saving, she said finally. I know. He took a step back, giving her space. But maybe I do. 3 days later, everything fell apart. The knock on Nia's door came at 7 in the evening. She'd just finished dinner with Lily, and they were settling in to watch a movie. When she opened the door, a woman in a professional suit stood there with a clipboard and an apologetic expression. Ms. Cole? I'm Sarah Chin from Child Protective Services. May I come in? The world tilted. Nia gripped the doorframe to keep from falling. Why? We received a complaint. Allegations that you're an unfit mother. Unstable. Potentially neglectful. I need to do a home evaluation. Nia knew immediately who had filed the complaint. This was his revenge for her refusing him, for having Ryu protect her, for daring to set boundaries. She let the social worker in because she had no choice. Ms. Chen walked through the small apartment with professional detachment, making notes on her clipboard. She checked the refrigerator, examined the bedroom Nia and Lily shared, asked questions about childcare arrangements and work schedules. Lily sat on the couch, confused and frightened, watching a stranger catalog their life. Do you feel safe here, Lily? Ms. Chen asked gently. Yes, Lily said in a small voice. Mama takes good care of me. Does your mother ever leave you alone? No. Never. Has anyone ever hurt you in this home? No. Mama keeps me safe. Ms. Chen made more notes. When she was done, she gave Nia a card with a case number. We'll be in touch. In the meantime, I'd recommend documenting your childcare arrangements. Keep receipts for groceries, maintain consistent schedules, and perhaps consider counseling services. After she left, Nia sat on the couch and stared at nothing. Lily crawled into her lap. Are they going to take me away? Lily asked, her voice breaking. No, baby. Never. But Nia wasn't sure she believed it. Her hands were shaking. Everything she'd worked for, everything she'd built, was crumbling. That night, after Lily finally fell asleep, Nia sat in the dark and let herself break. She cried silently, her whole body shaking with the force of it. She tried so hard, worked so hard, and it still wasn't enough. Her phone was in her hand before she realized what she was doing. Ryu's number was still in her recent calls. She stared at it for a long moment, then pressed dial. He answered on the first ring. Nia? I need help. Her voice cracked on the words. I'm sorry. I know I said I didn't want your world in my life, but I don't know what else to do. I'm coming. Give me 20 minutes. He was there in 15. Nia opened the door to find him slightly out of breath, his hair disheveled like he'd been running. He looked her over quickly, checking for injuries, then stepped inside. Tell me what happened, he said. She told him everything. The complaint. Ms. Chen's visit. Deshawn's revenge. The fear that had been eating at her since the moment she'd opened the door. Ryu listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with every word. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I can make him disappear." "No. Nia." "No." She stood up, wrapping her arms around herself. "I won't be responsible for that. I won't have that hanging over me. I won't raise my daughter knowing her safety came at the cost of someone's life, even his." "Then what do you want me to do?" "I don't know." The words burst out of her. "I don't know what I want. I don't know how to fix this. I just know I can't lose her. She's everything. She's all I have." Ryu crossed the space between them and pulled her into his arms. Nia stiffened, then broke, sobbing against his chest while he held her steady. His heart beat against her ear, strong and steady, an anchor in the storm. "You're not going to lose her," he said quietly. "I promise you. But we're going to do this the right way." "What's the right way?" Nia asked against his shirt. "Lawyers. Evidence. Documentation. We prove every allegation is false. We build a case that shows you're an excellent mother. And we make sure Deshawn can't file another complaint without facing consequences." He pulled back to look at her. "I have resources, Nia. Money, connections, lawyers who are very good at what they do. Let me use them for something good. That will cost money I don't have. I have enough for both of us. I can't pay you back. I'm not asking you to." His voice softened. "I'm asking you to trust me. And I know that's hard. But please, trust me this once." Nia looked into his eyes and saw genuine fear there. Fear that she might say no. Fear that he wouldn't be able to help. This wasn't the cold crime boss. This was just a man who'd found something worth protecting. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." The next 2 weeks were a blur of lawyers and paperwork and evidence gathering. Ryu's legal team was efficient and ruthless in the best way. They documented Deshawn's harassment, his criminal record, and his history of domestic violence. They gathered character references for Nia from her employer, from Lily's teachers, from their neighbors. They prepared a countersuit for defamation and harassment. Nia watched it happen with a mixture of awe and terror. This was Ryu's world. Power wielded quietly but devastatingly. Problems solved with money and influence and carefully applied pressure. She saw glimpses of the dangerous man, the one who made people whisper. But she also saw him sitting on her couch at 2 a.m, going over paperwork with exhausted eyes. Saw him bring groceries when she forgot to shop because she was too stressed to think. Saw him teach Lily origami to distract her from the tension in the apartment. "Why are you doing all this?" she asked him one night after Lily had gone to bed. They were at her kitchen table, surrounded by documents. Ryu looked up from the file he was reading. "Because I want to," he said simply. "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have." He set down the papers and met her eyes. "My whole life I've hurt people. Sometimes because I had to. Sometimes because I wanted to. Sometimes just because I could. I built my reputation on being someone people fear. I turned myself into a weapon." He paused. "And then I met you, and you looked at me like I was just a person. Not a monster. Not a tool. Just someone who could choose to be kind." "You are kind," Nia said softly. "Not usually." He smiled, but it was sad. "But with you, I want to be. I want to be the person your daughter thinks I am. I want to be someone who deserves to sit at this table with you." Nia reached across the table and took his hand. He stared at their joined fingers like he'd never seen anything so miraculous. "You already are," she said. The case was dismissed 4 weeks after it was filed. Deshawn's parental rights were suspended pending a full investigation into his behavior. Miss Chun called to apologize for the inconvenience and commend Nia on her documentation and cooperation. Nia cried with relief. Then she called Ryu. "It's over," she said. "It's actually over." "For now," he said carefully. "But Nia, he's not going to stop. Men like him don't stop unless they're forced to." "I know." She took a deep breath. "But I'm not afraid anymore. Or I'm still afraid, but I'm not letting it control me. Does that make sense?" "It does." She could hear the smile in his voice. I'm proud of you. Thank you. She hesitated. Will you come over tonight? After Lily's asleep? I want to talk to you about something. He arrived at 9 o'clock. Lily was in bed, and Nia had made tea in her chipped mugs. Ryu sat on her worn couch holding the mug like it was fine china, and the sight made her chest ache. What did you want to talk about? He asked. Nia sat beside him, close enough that their knees touched. I've been thinking about what you said. About wanting to be a different person. I meant it. I'm already making moves to get out. It'll take time, but I can do it. I know. And I've been thinking about what I want too. She turned to face him fully. I spent 5 years with Deshawn being afraid. Afraid to speak. Afraid to exist. Afraid to want anything for myself. And I'm done being afraid. What do you want? Ryu asked quietly. I want you in my life. In our lives. She saw his expression shift and hurried on. But I need you to understand something. I can't be saved like I'm fragile. I can't be protected like I'm weak. I need a partner, not a guardian. Can you do that? Ryu set down his tea and took both her hands in his. I'm not good at this, he admitted. I don't know how to be in someone's life without trying to control it. It's how I've survived. Then we'll learn together. Nia squeezed his hands. I'll teach you how to let go, and you teach me how to trust again. That seems like an unfair trade. Why? Because you're giving me so much more than I'm giving you. Nia smiled and leaned her forehead against his. You're giving me safety without taking my strength. You're giving me help without making me small. You're giving me hope that I can have a future that doesn't hurt. That's not unfair, Ryu. That's everything. He kissed her then, soft and careful, like she was something precious. Nia kissed him back and felt something in her chest unfold. Something bright and terrifying and wonderful. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I'm leaving the business, he said. Really leaving. I've been making arrangements. It'll take about 6 months, but I can do it. I want to do it. You don't have to do that for me. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. Because I want a life where I come home to you and Lily. Where I don't have to look over my shoulder. Where I can be the man you think I am. Who do I think you are? Good. He said it like a confession, like a prayer. You think I'm good. And I want to be that for you. Nia pulled back to look at him. You already are. You just have to believe it. 1 year later, Nia stood at a podium in a community center and tried not to shake. Bright Hands Cleaning Company's first town hall meeting. Her company. Her dream. It had started small, just her and 3 other women from the building staff who wanted fair wages and safe working conditions. But it had grown. They have 12 employees now. Real contracts with real clients. A reputation for quality and ethics that was spreading through the city. When I started cleaning houses, Nia said, looking out at the 50 people gathered in the room, I was invisible. People looked through me, around me, like I didn't exist. But I did exist. I always existed. And I deserve to be seen. She paused, finding her rhythm. We all deserve to be seen. Every person in this room. Every worker who keeps this city running. This company is built on that principle. Fair wages. Safe conditions. Respect. Dignity. We're not just cleaning houses. We're building a movement. And I'm so proud of every single person here who believes in it. The applause was overwhelming. Nia stepped away from the podium, and her employees surrounded her, celebrating. But her eyes found Ryu's across the crowd. He stood in the back with Lily on his shoulders, both of them beaming with pride. He'd kept his promise. He'd left the criminal world behind, piece by piece, connection by connection. Now he ran legitimate businesses, consulted on security for corporations, lived a life that didn't require looking over his shoulder. Lily waved frantically, and Nia waved back, her heart full. Later, after the meeting ended and most people had left, the 3 of them walked to the park near their apartment. It was bigger now, 2 bedrooms in a safer neighborhood. Nia paid most of the rent from her business income. Ryu helped with the deposit and occasionally with groceries. Balance. Partnership. The way she'd insisted it had to be. Lily ran ahead to the swings, her laughter carrying on the evening air. Ryu took Nia's hand. "You were incredible today," he said. "I was nervous." "You were incredible," he repeated firmly. "You built something from nothing. You changed people's lives. You changed mine." Nia leaned into him, breathing in his scent. "How's the transition going?" "Almost done. 2 more months and I'm completely legitimate." He laughed quietly. "It's strange. I spent 20 years building power through fear, and now I'm spending all my energy giving it away. But I don't miss it. Not even a little." "What do you miss?" "Nothing." He kissed the top of her head. "Everything I want is right here." They watched Lily swing higher and higher, fearless and laughing. Nia thought about all the nights she'd sat in her old apartment wondering how she would survive. Wondering if she deserved to want more than just survival. "I'm happy," she said, surprised by the truth of it. "I'm actually happy." "So am I." Ryu pulled her closer. "Thank you for letting me be part of this. Part of your life." "Thank you for seeing me," Nia said. "Really seeing me. Always." They stood there as the sun set over West Haven City, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. 2 people who had been invisible in different ways, finding each other in the light. Lily called for them to watch her jump from the swing, and they both cheered, their voices mixing with the sounds of the city around them. Nia had spent years being overlooked, dismissed, made small by men who thought they owned her. But now she stood tall, surrounded by love and possibility and the life she'd built with her own hands. She'd claimed her visibility. She'd found her strength. She'd created a family out of 3 broken people who'd learned how to be whole together. And she was never going to be invisible again. If this story of finding love and strength in unexpected places moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more compelling stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think. Did Ryu and Nia's journey resonate with you? What would you have done in Nia's position? We love hearing your thoughts, and your engagement helps us create more content like this. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that they deserve to be seen. Until next time, remember that everyone has worth, everyone deserves dignity, and love can come from the most unexpected places.